Hey everyone, it's Nikki. Welcome if you're new here and welcome back if you're returning. I have some spring DIYs for you, starting with this fence I thrifted last year at Goodwill for $6. And I'm going to disassemble it. I don't want this shaggy hay stuff on this side or the welcome sign, so I'm going to take that off for now. So I made sure to wash it well, and I'm going to give this 2 coats of the color Creamy. This is by Sweet Pickins. And if you haven't worked with milk paint, it's a 1-to-1 ratio. So I just mixed up a tablespoon of milk paint to a tablespoon of water. And I like things to look old, so I'm going to get lots and lots of crackle with this. And so I'm going to do the second coat off camera. And then I took some wood from my stash and my scroll saw, and I cut out these teardrop shapes and also the sticks. And well, it's actually a stem to tulips. I'm making tulips there. And I'm staining them with some antique wax by Waverly, and it's raw wood. There we go. And so I mixed it in with a little bit of water because it just helps, move the paint around. And raw wood loves to suck up paint and anything. So these are going to be like 3D, and you'll see here in a minute. So I gave all these just 1 coat, wiped it back, and then I set them off to the side to dry. And I didn't have a template. I just traced them out myself, and this is just all me winging it. And then I mixed up some of this purple milk paint. I think it's in the color lavender, and I'm going to paint 3 of these larger pieces, 2 coats of this, and then I set those off to the side to dry. And then I took some of Fusion's mineral paint. It's a 2-in-1, and I gave it this peony color. And then I took Waverly's Maze and did this other tulip. And then once they're dry, I gave them a good rough sand to make them look all old. And so I went pretty hard with my sander, and I only did one side of these. I didn't need to do the back side for this project. But of course, if you wanted to make something like this, you don't have to go the vintage route as I do with all mine. You can just keep it nice and crisp and clean, whatever you choose. And so the thing with milk paint, you got to make sure that you seal it. And I'm not quite sure if I showed you me sealing them, but make sure you seal it in. This Fusion paint is fine. You don't need to seal that up, but I repeated the same process with my leaves and my stems. Now going back to our sign, look at all this crackle. That's what I love about milk paint. You don't need to go in with any crackle step 1 or 2. You could just paint it and look at all this beauty. But it's water soluble, so you're going to want to seal it in. Otherwise, it will reactivate your milk paint and ruin your project. So I sealed it in with some Extreme Guard and satin. And I placed them on my board. They're not glued down yet, but I wanted to add this design to the top. And this is from IOD's Florography transfer booklet, and then I just started gluing my tulips down. Now, of course, if you don't want yours to be big and chunky and fat like mine, you could probably just cut 2 V's in one of them to just make 1 tulip, if you're following what I'm saying. But I want mine to be big and chunky. I like things on the chunkier side. And so, yeah, these were super fun to make and so easy. And, sometimes it's fun to just wing it and not have a template or a diagram. You just craft from your heart. And that was one of the things that I enjoyed so much with this project is it's all mine, right? It's all mine. But yeah, after I was done with this, I went over everything with some dark wax. And of course, if you don't want your project to be dark and grungy, alongside with skipping the milk paint, you could totally skip this dark wax and just seal it in with Mod Podge or liquid patina, or clear wax, whatever your heart desires, but this dark wax settled into all that lovely crackle, and I just love how this looks. So I'm wiping back as much as I can with my paper towel. It's so hard because I'm out of my Viva paper towels, and those things are just like having a shop towel. And now I'm using this brawny paper towel. No offense, brawny, but you're not tough as you say you are. But look at this, guys. I think this is so pretty. I added a bow and I left that nail on the top. I don't know, I just thought it was a nice detail and maybe I could hang something off of it. I don't know. What do you think of this one? All right, this video is hosted by Christine from Divine Designs. Our co host is Michelle, the Southern Shell, and our guest host is Wendy from White Sparrow Living. What an honor to be crafting alongside of these ladies, and make sure to check them out, and the playlist will be linked down below. All right, I'm making a fence, and I used 6 of Walmart's craft sticks, the jumbo ones, and then 2 paint stir sticks. And the third paint stir stick is to kind of help have them all even. There we go. And so I cut the tops off with my miter shears, and I'm just using some hot glue. I am not good at measuring, guys. If you've been following me, you know that I struggle with it. So this is the best way that I could do it. And it's still not completely even, but that's okay because once again, I'm crafting for me and from the heart, and that's all that matters. Once I got everything glued down, I'm going over the whole thing with the color Simply White, and that's a clay-based paint. And I just gave it one coat, and then I took this tissue paper. No, it's a napkin. It's a napkin, and it had 2 plies on the back, and so I removed that. That's where the thought of tissue paper came in the back of my mind. There was the back 2 plies. But this fits perfectly over my fence, doesn't it? So I took some liquid patina and went over the whole thing with that. Today you're getting a raw and real voiceover. My words don't always come out the way I want them to, and I have a stutter, and I always stop and re-record my voiceovers every time I mess up. But today, this is me, guys. You're getting it all. I honestly, I don't even care at this point. Like, I'm so insecure about it, and I'm just being real. So, um, now that I got that out, back to my project. I'm applying my napkin while it's still wet. You could totally skip this part. I know a lot of people don't like wrinkles. Sometimes I do like wrinkles. I mean, it just depends on my personality that day. And then with napkins, I often do get wrinkles regardless. But if you'd want to do the iron-on method, you wouldn't have that issue like that. You know for a fact with the iron-on method, you're going to have a nice smooth application without wrinkles. But do whatever makes your heart happy. At this point in time, this made my heart happy. So this is what I did. The fan brush helps so much smoothing out those wrinkles. And you could also take a piece of cling wrap. After it was dry, I went in with my torch and got rid of all the excess. And of course, if you're terrified of fire, like a lot of people are, you can go in with your nail file or a knife and just clean up all the edges. I just love to live dangerously. And I do have water off to the side. Believe it or not, I do. I have my spray bottle right handy. And I just, I think this cleans it up real nice. And also, that little bit of black that is on the sides and at the bottom, I think that just adds to like the rustic vintage style that I love. But just do whatever you're comfortable with and whatever makes your heart happy. Now I got my chippy brush and my antique wax by Waverly, and I'm going to dry brush on a little bit of this. I don't want to get too crazy grungy because I can do that very easily. I'm making sure to offload my brush and just lightly dry brush along the top. I'm not going to go over my tissue paper. I dug deep in my stash and I found these galvanized words that I've probably had for years and years. And I used some Titebond Quick and Thick and some hot glue and glued those right onto the front of my sign. And this little bunny, this was in my stash. I painted that years ago and I left it as is and just placed the Easter over the ear where that hole is. And then those carrots I got at Hobby Lobby this year, and I glued 2 of those down. I was inspired to make this from Brenda at Rustic and Lee. She made one a few videos back. She had purchased one of the fences that you can get at Hobby Lobby, and hers came out so pretty. And although mine isn't quite like hers, I still love it. I think Brenda is such an amazing crafter. Lastly, I added a hanger, and that's it for this. I think it came out super cute, and I would love to know what you think of my little sign. All right, I took this piece of wood from my stash and some tumbling tower blocks and this word spring you can find at the Dollar Tree. And I want this to stand up a little higher on my board. So I'm gluing the tumbling tower blocks so that way the bottom of the letter will be able to be glued to them. And so I'm trying to make a nice straight line and also place the blocks, as I said, where the part of the letters will glue onto them. And so this was a little bit tricky. I thought about gluing the blocks to the letters first, but if I didn't get them even, that way, then my words would be staggered or my letters would be staggered. So this worked out great. I just added some hot glue and glued my words or my letters. I want to add florals to this. So I got these little, they look like miniature pool noodles, and I didn't want to add the hot glue directly to them because they'd melt. So I ran my glue along the front of my board. That way I had a second to hit the air before I placed them. And I added them on both sides and then added a bunch of greenery and florals. And I'll let you watch as I put this together. Guys, I don't think I was expecting this to be so massive. So I dug in my stash because this really needed some elevation. I found these finials I got from Temu and I stained them with some antique wax and wiped off the excess with a damp rag, let them dry, and then glued them to the bottom. So luckily my board was just wide enough to fit two of them side by side. Otherwise, I don't know what I would have done. I do have smaller ones, but it wouldn't have given me the elevation that I needed for this. But that was it, guys. I absolutely love this project, and I can't wait to hear what you guys think of this one. I have it styled on my kitchen table. I added that sweet little bunny I got from Hobby Lobby last year. And all of the florals, excluding maybe a few, are from the Dollar Tree. I got this sign at Goodwill a few years back. Guys, I have been working so hard at cleaning out my stash. And this is one of those things that I kept looking at over and over again, saying I have to do something with it. I think this is homemade. I think this was definitely something someone DIY'd. For today, I'm going to work on the white side. I made sure to wipe it all down because it was pretty dirty. And I'm just going to use that same clay base paint that I used earlier and give it one coat. That's all it needed. And then I got three of these bunnies at Hobby Lobby, 40% off. They're just so cute. I painted this one, the color Ballet Slipper by Waverly. And then for the second one, I mixed some of that white. Oh, Monty got in the way. She loves to get up on my craft table. She just wants to be with me. Then I have to put her down, and I feel so bad. But I mixed the color Maize in with that white paint because I want it to be a soft, buttery yellow, not like a bright yellow. I don't know. I'm weird with the color yellow. I like soft colors. I don't really like bright, bright colors, especially when it comes to yellow. And it doesn't look good on me either. I wish it did, especially like this soft yellow. But all I do is give this one coat and I do the sides and everything. And I was going to remove the tail, but I really didn't want to. I just held it, like squeezed it, and got the paint underneath it. And that was really easy. I didn't paint the back side. I could have, but I didn't think that it was necessary for this project. And a lot of times I break down my projects and repurpose them. So maybe if this is something that I'm able to do that with, I'll paint the other side or maybe do something else with it. I don't know. We'll see. Who knows what the future holds, especially as a DIYer, right? We do all kinds of things. And so I took that same white paint and mixed it with the color celery, and this is going to give us like a soft green. But then I realized I messed up and I wanted like a soft baby blue for this one. And so I decided just to take this blue paint and just score it on a little bit and kind of mix it in. It's still like a green, but it does have like a blue hue to it. And I think it came out so pretty. So I just mixed that in real well in with my paint and brushed it on and made sure to get the sides, of course, and let that dry. And I wanted to add bows to the top of each one. So I took this Dollar Tree ribbon and made awareness bows super easy, nothing over the top. And I didn't want big giant bows at the top of their head. So it just made sense to make an awareness bow. It's cute, simple, and fits my bunnies perfectly. Off camera, I added 3 tumbling tower blocks to each bunny. Then I just staggered them, glued them onto the board, and now I'm adding the bows to the top. This was such a fun project. I think it came out so cute. And I had my husband help me with it this morning before he left for work because I wasn't quite sure how I wanted my bunnies to be placed. And he thought they looked best like this. So that's what I went with. And I'm so glad that I did because it's just so cute. And I pulled on a glue string and it took my whole bow down. That's what I was doing there, trying to fix my bow. Those glue strings are a pain in the rear end. Don't mind my Valentine's Day. I have yet to take down all my Valentine's Day decor and put up all my Easter, but I want it to look like Christmas does. It looks like I have Easter that totally blew up in my house, and that's how I like it to look. So I got to get all this taken down next week and get all of my Easter stuff put up. But I think these came out so cute. And of course, my doggies have to be right with me. They follow me around the house all day long. Let me know in the comments, do your animals do that? My dogs are just so interested in everything. They get into my craft supplies, and not to ruin them, but just to see what I have and sniff everything. It's just so cute. And when I finish a project, of course, they got to check it all out. But let me know what you think of these projects today. If you like them, go ahead and hit that like button. And I love when you chat it up with me down in the comments, and subscribe. I would love for you to join my little creative corner here and hype me up. I would so appreciate that. Thank you, Christine, for hosting. And Michelle, thank you for co-hosting. And Wendy, we so appreciate you joining us today. Thank you so much, and congratulations on your new grandbaby. Thank you for spending time with me today. Until the next one, bye.